What the hell do you have to lose, right?
Trump wants to eliminate the Department of Education and give the business of education back to the states.
You know, I'm going to take the Department of Education, close it in Washington, let the states run their own education.
Now let that sink in for a second. Trump lecturing us about education is like Dairy Queen teaching ethics in government.
I'm very excited about that.
But eliminate the Department of Education? Well, he said that. Then again, so did Project 2025.
The Department of Education is renamed the Department of American Values and mandates a nationwide Christian nationalist curriculum for all schools receiving federal aid.
But this attack isn't new. Reagan proposed doing it, but ended up increasing the budget, as did George W. Bush. Why? Because education works. The rest is just an assault on big government. And despite Reagan and Trump, education still works. Kids in states like Alabama are getting an education.
No.
Can I pick that dog?
No.
Can I pick that dog?
No, he's
Can I
sleeping.
pick that dog?
It's nowhere near as well as it could be, but the potential's there, and yet here we are. And even as stupid as some of the states seem, the federal government and the states are doing better each year educating your kid. But is that what this is really all about?
Because we spend more money per pupil than any other nation in the world by far, and yet we're ranked at the bottom of every list. So, you know the expression, what the hell do you have to lose, right? I did that with our great, because they've been so supportive. I've gone up like a rocket ship. Our great, but they're being hurt very badly by the people pouring into our country. Our African American population. I said, well, you're last on crime. You're being devastated with inflation more than anybody else. You have the smallest percentage of home ownership. And I went through a list of 12 things. This was a long time ago, 2015 when I was running, even before. And I was with a group, and I wasn't doing particularly well with them. And I'm going through this whole list of things. I mean, you're last in ownership, you're last in cash, and having money in the bank, last in all these different categories. And I said, vote for me.
Yeah, Donnie may not even know this, but public schools are deeply segregated. In 2021, 60% of Black and Hispanic public school students attended schools where 75% or more of the students were students of color. And these Black and Hispanic kids who attend racially segregated schools, well, they're also overwhelmingly enrolled in high poverty schools with large underfunded classrooms. So Trump again is talking out his ass. Okay, so how does the U.S. compare to the world? Well, right now we're in 13th place, trailing behind Germany and New Zealand. Now, in our defense, we have a load more people, and we have traditionally had an agrarian society where education wasn't deemed as necessary. But of course, that's changing. But as you heard recently, Trump, Johnny Donuts, and Ron DeSantis are attacking education like it's a herpes sore.
The professors are the enemy. So much of what we want to do in this movement in this country, I think, are fundamentally dependent on going through a set of very hostile institutions, specifically the universities, which control the knowledge in our society, which control what we call truth and what we call falsity, that provides research that gives credibility to some of the most ridiculous ideas that exist in our country. Because I think if any of us want to do the things that we want to do for our country and for the people who live in it, we have to honestly and aggressively attack the universities in this country. And there was a wisdom in what Richard Nixon said approximately 40, 50 years ago. He said, and I quote, "The professors are the enemy."
So what's that about?
I love the poorly educated.
Here's the poop. States like Florida are catering to possibly the most stupid people in the free world. There's a huge swath of people in the South who don't want a variety of things taught to their kids. In no particular order, the science of vaccines, sex ed, the story of the Holocaust, the genocide of millions of Native Americans, and slavery. And behind this is Ron DeSantis, a spineless, doughy-faced cockwaffle who is to education what gravity is to flying. Now, you have to ask yourself, why wouldn't you teach kids about slavery? I mean, it happened. And maybe more to the point, how could you teach them that black people were better for it?
Outrage continued Monday over Florida's new standards for teaching black history.
It's insulting, it's demeaning, it should not exist.
The social studies curriculum approved by Florida's Board of Education last week was created for middle schoolers across the state. And while the new guidelines include teaching some of the harsh conditions slaves lived through, it also includes instruction on how slaves developed skills which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit.
Florida's Board of Ed came out with their new Black History curriculum. Primetime looked at the curriculum. It's rigorous, it's in depth, it should be like that. It's a brutally honest depiction of American slavery, the institution, and therefore covers slavery from the perspective of the slave instead of just from the perspective of the master. The curriculum includes how black slaves were able to use their experience, in some cases, to make their brutally hard lives better.
What the f*** is wrong with you?
I mean, really, f*** that guy, right? But the truth is brutal. African slaves built the economy of the South, and when they were freed, not only did they receive zero compensation for their work, they had to endure Jim Crow for the next 100+ years, and still today have to face these Dukes of Hazzard hillbillies and their adoring masters.
Very fine people on both sides.
But hey, they were good at working with chains and whips hitting them, so they did learn that. But it gets better. Now schools in Missouri are apparently allowing teachers to deny the murders of 6 million Jews in concentration camps. Yeah, that's open to discussion.
Take a look at this picture. It was taken during Knifer Middle School's curriculum night back on August 14th by one of several parents who complained to the Kirkwood School District after they saw a Palestinian flag flying in a social studies teacher's classroom. One of those parents, who says she's a descendant of a Holocaust survivor, says she confronted the teacher and explained that not having an Israeli flag as well is insensitive to some Jewish students. She says that's when he shocked her by calling the Holocaust, quote, her version of history.
And the hits just keep on coming. Schools in states like Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, and Mississippi have shifted curriculum away from these facts. Approximately 4 million Native Americans were killed by Americans, with some studies estimating the total number of indigenous people killed across North and South America to be as high as 56 million. That's not a liberal spin, although DeSantis would disagree. Here's what Florida won't teach. President Andrew Jackson placed a bounty on the head of every Indian man, woman, and child. No, they won't teach that. They're too busy attacking drag shows.
These drag shows.
Governor DeSantis maintains the new law will protect children.
I mean, you'll have situations where you'll have like an 8-year-old girl there, where you have these like really explicit shows.
Okay, so let me get this straight. A kid can't see a drag show because why? They might turn gay. One Florida district banned the showing of Tootsie in an auditorium because a child might accidentally see it. How many drag queens have been arrested for molesting children in Florida? I don't know, but I know Catholic priests still have access to your kid, and you can carry an AR-15 into a Chuck E. Cheese. And of course, the majority of children murdered across the U.S. aren't killed by drag queens. No, they're killed by their parents.
I want to close the Department of Education and move education back to the states where it belongs and where parents have total control of their children's lives.
Sure, every parent wants what's best for their kid, but unfortunately, millions of parents don't believe in teaching their children about sex, science, or history. And if you leave that to the states, well, you might get this.
I don't wear a mask for the same reason I don't wear underwear. Things gotta breathe.
There's an old saying, if you think education is bad, try the alternative.
You know what? So what if he wants to grab pussy? I want to grab pussy.
That is Trump's America, unless, of course, we all decide to say no.
Goddamn right.
I don't want to talk about this stuff.
It's not fair.
I'm ready. Let's go. This isn't their Republican Party anymore.
Who's with me?
Am I wrong?
Yes.
Tick tock.
You're in a lot of trouble, Donnie.
I think he's crazy.
I'm Chip Franklin.